the Russian command has deployed large reserves to the battle near Pokrovsk. The offensive has resumed to the west and east of the city, as well as in its residential areas. At the same time, Russian forces have reached the outskirts of the nearby city of Kostiantynivka. The Ukrainian Armed Forces moved reserves to this area back in August and are now trying at all costs to contain the Russian advance. Without capturing both cities, Russia won't be able to progress toward the Kramatorsk, Sloviansk agglomeration. Several Russian Marine brigades that had previously operated in the Kursk and Sumy regions have launched an offensive at the base of the so-called Dobropillia breakthrough, which was created by Russia's 51st Guards Combined Arms Army back in August, according to Meduza media outlet. This salient, located between the cities of Pokrovsk and Kostiantynivka, is about 15 kilometers deep and 5 to 7 kilometers wide. The Ukrainian Armed Forces have been trying to eliminate it since August, relying on roads at its base between Shakhove and Nove Shakhove, where Russian supply lines could potentially be disrupted. The Russian Marines have likely been tasked with capturing Shakhove to remove this threat. They've chosen to employ a mechanized assault involving several armored columns, a tactic neither side has used in months, given how vulnerable armored vehicles have become to drones. Even when attackers manage to deploy troops and capture positions deep behind enemy lines, resupplying them later is extremely difficult for the same reason. In addition, many of the Russian Marine brigades in the area were destroyed, with thousands of casualties. One of the assault columns broke into the village of Volodymyrivka, southwest of Shakhove, while another reached the eastern outskirts of Shakhove itself. However, the attackers suffered heavy equipment losses. The outcome of the assault remains unclear. Ukrainian sources claim all troops in Volodymyrivka were destroyed and the attack on Shakhove failed completely, while Russian sources insist that their forces managed to gain a foothold in at least part of Volodymyrivka. Everywhere along the front near Pokrovsk, Russian forces continue to rely on small assault groups for attacks. For instance, soldiers from the same 41st Army have entered the southern part of Rodinsk, where Russian troops have been unsuccessfully trying to break through since August, in an attempt to reach Pokrovsk's northern exit and encircle the city. In Pokrovsk itself, Russian assault units have been spotted near the city's western exit, along the highway to Dnipro, Meduza says. Russian assault groups have also reached a fortified Ukrainian base at the massive coal mine that covers the city's western approaches. Meanwhile, Russian troops advancing toward Kostiantynivka from the south and east have pushed to the city's southeastern outskirts. However, efforts to encircle the city from the west along the road to Pokrovsk and from the east from the Siversky Donetsk-Donbass Canal north of Chasiv Yar stalled months ago.
Russia's strategic nuclear forces on Wednesday carried out exercises that featured practice missile launches. According to Associated Press, the Kremlin said that as part of the maneuvers, a Yars intercontinental ballistic missile was test-fired from the Plesetsk launch facility in northwestern Russia, and a Syniva ICBM was launched by a submarine in the Barents Sea. The drills also involved two 95 strategic bombers firing long-range cruise missiles. The exercise tested the skills of military command structures, the Kremlin said in a statement. The chief of the military's general staff reported to Putin via video link that the drills were intended to simulate procedures for authorizing the use of nuclear weapons. The drill came as President Vladimir Putin's planned summit on Ukraine with US President Donald Trump was put on hold. While Putin emphasized that the exercises had been planned in advance, they came hours after Trump said his plan for a swift meeting with the Russian leader in Budapest was on hold because he didn't want it to be a waste of time. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov on Wednesday emphasized that the planned Putin-Trump summit needs to be thoroughly prepared.
Приказ на пусковые установки. Приготовиться к совместным действиям.
Совместным действиям готов.
Проконтролировать правильность набора.
Набор верен.
Внимание, расчет. Пуск.
Есть пуск.
Ракета атака.
Глубина старта 75 метров. Боевой курс 345 градусов.
Боевая тревога. Ракетная атака. Создать рубежи обороны на кормовой переборке 3-го отсека, носовой переборке 5-го виз отсека. Командир рубежей обороны, командира отсека. Личного состава НКЧ-2 покинуть 4-5 отсек.
Выработать нормальные условия старта.
Есть нормальные условия старта.
Есть расчет. Вперед 6,5 и есть пускай скорость.
Декрет 0, декрет 0.
Давление в системах ОВД гидравлики в норме. Значит, командир, есть нормальные условия старта.
Есть расчет. До старта 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Начало залпа.
Добрый день, уважаемые товарищи. Сегодня у нас плановая тренировка по управлению ядерными силами, как только что доложил министр обороны. Давайте начнем работать. Пожалуйста, слово начальнику.
Применение ядерного оружия, практические действия будут осуществлять подвижные грунтовые